Hello and welcome back to Stronghold. I'm the Magi, and today, for basically the first time ever, I am going to attempt to answer one of the most frequent questions I get. What card should I craft in season? But before we get into all that, my Amazon Prime members, listen up. You have a free Twitch sub burning a hole in your digital pocket every month. And you can use that to support the Stronghold and fuel the creation flames of more budget Magic content. It's a quick and easy way to make a difference without spending anything extra. And if you don't already have Amazon Prime, did you know you could get up to 6 months absolutely free? I mean, why would we not check this out? Through the link in the description. I mean, let's face it, Amazon has a lot of resources, but they're not going to use it to make budget-oriented Magic the Gathering content unless you send it my way. Now, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, right. So first off, I want to start this conversation with why I don't usually give crafting advice. Because, you see, wildcards are kind of inarguably the most sought-after resource in the game. And, once you spend them, no amount of regret is going to bring them back around. So mistakes feel really costly here. And in fact, I am approached by more new players with a statement like, oh, I crafted this in the very beginning thinking it was going to be good, whether they're talking about a card or an entire deck. And then within just a few days, or sometimes even as little as a few games, they realize it wasn't, and they wanted to know how do they get their wild cards back, and you don't. I'm really sorry about that, but there's just no way to do it. So I'm very hesitant to give folks advice when it comes to crafting unless it has been very well thought out. Because no matter how hard we look at cards during preview season or the early season, they almost never are as good as we think they are going to be. And that's just the reality of things. I'm sure many of you have heard the phrase that someone was a big fish in a small pond. And, well, that applies here somewhat in reverse, because now even for Standard is the largest pond, aka standard card pool, that we have ever seen in the history of Magic the Gathering. And with the release of Final Fantasy, it's only going to get bigger. It's unbelievable. So even a card that looks really good or has a lot of promise has a hard time shining in the harsh reality of that super big card pool pond. Secondly, on this point, patience is a virtue, and the advice that I do give to people all the time is to follow what I lovingly refer to as the plan. And if you're doing that, probably half the rares and mythics, or even commons and uncommons, that you think about crafting on day one, you end up with before the end of the season. And that translates into less wild cards potentially to be spent, that can then later be used for other things like breaking into new formats or building a proven meta deck in order to improve your monthly rank, or whatever else you might choose to do with them. So my general advice when it comes to crafting cards and spending your wild cards is don't. More often than not, you will live to regret it. And if you're wondering what you should craft, that is probably a good indication that you aren't ready to make those crafts yet, because if you were ready, you wouldn't have any doubts about it. So now that I've said all that, let's talk about cards from Tarkir Dragonstorm that might be worth considering crafting, and how we can go about it in order to defeat the biggest monster, in my opinion, on Arena, regret. Alright, so let's start with what I believe may be the best common out of the set. That, of course, is Sagu Wilding, a 4-mana 3/3 flying dragon that gains you 3 life when it ETBs. But what makes this little wildling all the more outrageous, really, is the sorcery speed Roost Seek Omen. For 1 green mana, you can search up a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and of course shuffle. And then the Wildling goes into your library, shuffles in as well on resolution. So very, very good things here. This is particularly good for anyone who is a fan of the Big Dumb Green strategy, because of course this fulfills essentially two functions of the deck, providing both ramp and big dumb green creatures. Wildling may not be as big and dumb as we're used to, but it also comes with the keyword flying that is kind of hard to come by in green. Reach is much more common of an answer, so having that flying evasion is pretty nice. And of course, the fact that it gains 3 when it ETBs will help you stabilize at potentially just the right time. And moving on to the uncommons, the tap tri-lands from the Dragonstorm or the original Tarkir are very good for that mana fixing in multicolored decks. For Brawl players, I'd recommend having one of each at a minimum. And of course, if you are building one of the clan-themed tricolor decks, having 3 of the appropriate tri-land is the recommended approach. But to be honest, at this point in the season, if you're not already working on or have completed that deck, I probably would not bother, as those decks, thus far as budget decks, are not proving to have the standing power of some of their 2-color contemporaries. Similarly, this set is just chock full of uncommon dragon goodness, but just like the Tri-lands, when it comes to the Guardian and the Sonic Shrieker, if you haven't already mostly built those decks and committed resources, I might give it a second thought, because these cards are really only good in those decks, and well, like I said, they're just not hitting as hard as we wanted them to. On the other end of the spectrum, Disruptive Stormbrood is more of a 2-color gold card, although technically it is either black or green, depending upon how you want to look at it, and not gold at all. But at any rate, it is a very good card and well worth having in your collection if Golgari is where you're trying to be. Being able to cast both sides of this card just makes it extremely powerful. If you have the correct decks to put them in, I think 2 copies of any one of these or all 3 are really the recommended outcome. Also, any other decks that you are favoring at the moment, be sure to take a look at the other uncommon dragons. They're all just about really good. And of course, then at Mythic, we've got Elspeth's Stormslayer, one of the most talked about cards in the preseason. But to be honest, in my limited play experience with this, and by limited I mean small amount, not a draft environment, Elspeth has been the very definition of win more. It does phenomenal things, and if you have a copy, there's no reason not to play with it. But unless you are really in love with token decks, I would save the Mythic Wildcards. I just don't think this is going to win you games the way you want it to. When it comes to rare lands, this set kind of took it easy on us, as there are no dual lands presented within this set, at least not at the rare level. All of the rare lands here that are kind of utility based are decent, and certainly by the time you've opened your last free pack, whether that is in season or from a later mastery pass, it would not hurt your collection to have one of each of the 5-color individual lands in your collection. But at this point, I would not use wildcards for them, and really this is an ongoing evaluation as to which of these find slots in individual decks. So far, to be honest, I'm not running any of these. Standard Elves also got some new toys. While there are a number of potential finishers along the budget spectrum, by far the weapon of choice as finisher is Craterhoof Behemoth. This guy just gives a huge boost to your whole team and gives them trample, and it has haste itself, so it's gonna punch in as well. Nature's Rhythm, of course, allows you to search up something like Craterhoof Behemoth and put it onto the battlefield, giving you essentially copies 5 through 8 of Craterhoof Behemoth. Definitely check out the budget elves video that I did a while back. From the thumbnail, it's going to look like a draft video from Foundations, because in a way it is. But that will show you some of the other budget alternatives, and honestly, I would only want these cards for that Elves deck. And I certainly don't think you need 4 copies of each, although some testing would need to be done. I would say a total of 3, probably 2 of the finishers like Behemoth, and then 1 Nature's Rhythm to give you an alternative, and save you some wildcards. And of course, there is Standard's new darling, the one, the only Corey Steel Cutter. If you haven't seen this card, I don't know where you've been on Arena. Certainly it hasn't been playing Standard. I certainly cannot tell you what the red deck is going to look like post-rotation, but I can tell you 2 things pretty certainly. One is there will be a red-based deck, and it's going to be important to budget players. And there is a better than average chance that Corey Steel Cutter is going to be part of that, and 4 copies is probably going to be the preferred number for that build. So if any card out of Tarkir Dragonstorm is worthy of being crafted, this certainly is. We've got almost a month at the time of recording still to open free packs. Then we're going to have at least 3 other Mastery Pass seasons that offer Tarkir Dragonstorm packs. There's ICRs and all sorts of things. So certainly let the plan fill in your collection, but even if you crafted 4 of these on day 1, I don't think you did yourself a disservice. So there it is, guys. Those are my thoughts on what is and may not be craftable for you out of Tarkir Dragonstorm. But don't forget, the spotlight is waiting for you. Jump down in the comments and let me know what you think, what you crafted, and most importantly, how you feel about it now. Because we all learn from each other, and what might be your brilliant move or your mistake may help someone else in the community. And of course, I want to take this opportunity to thank my supporting patrons, because being a small content creator comes with big bills. And I just couldn't do everything that I do without their monthly support. Thanks, guys. And of course, if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful in your Arena experience, we have a few suggestions for what you could watch next.